Warning: the following video contains very unstable footage which may cause discomfort or trigger seizures for people with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is advised. Here is a map of the route we're going to be walking today. As you can see, we start at Four Seasons Brasserie and then we make our way south down the main harbour, along the coast, then down in to the water feature, out through some housing areas onto the South Harbour, then back inside the main harbour to Four Seasons again. Take a left, following the pavement to the water's edge. If you'd like to visit some of the lovely shops, restaurants and experiences in the harbour, take a right here. There's an elevator on the right side of this walkway giving access to the second floor. Take the first right path at the end of this building. Watch out for the blind bend coming up on the right. A blind bend is a sharp corner you can't see past until you've reached it. Make sure you stay to the left on this part of the path, as the doors on the right sometimes open, with chefs coming in and out. Be careful of the semi-blind bend on the right. Please be aware that the sloped floor here is uneven. Do also be aware of the blind bend coming up on our right. We're going to follow the curved path to the right, making sure to keep the water on our left. Be aware of benches sticking out of the right side of the path here, as well as the stairs just after. If you look to your left, you will see all of the dock boats in the main harbour. And if you're lucky, you might see the occasional fish swimming around in the water below. If you look to your right, you will see some of the restaurants and attractions that can be found in the harbour. Please do feel free to come back and experience these whenever you'd like. Please do be mindful of the stairs sticking out of the right hand side of the path here, as well as some wooden plant pots and more benches. Follow the path around the corner, being careful to avoid the wooden plant pot on the left. Be careful of the floor becoming gravel on the right and the small trees sticking out of it. We're going to now cross the bridge on the left. However, you may have to wait a few minutes for the bridge to lower if a boat is crossing underneath. On the right here is another sloped access point to the harbour restaurants, shops and attractions. When the gates are rising or lowering, make sure to stay well back. Be careful when entering and exiting the bridge that there is a slight gap which could be a tripping hazard. There is a similar gap in the middle of the bridge. As you're crossing the bridge, why not take in this lovely view of the canal? If you would like a shorter walk, you can take a right after crossing the bridge and follow the path around the canal. We're going to take the second left here, going down the sloped path. Beware of blind bends on both sides of the path here, and another blind bend on the right once we've made it down the slope. Also keep in mind that this is quite a small path, so if you're on a mobility scooter or a wheelchair, this is something to bear in mind. We're going to follow this path all the way down, making sure to keep the water on the left side of us. Here's a chance to see the main harbour from a slightly different angle, if you'd like. But while we're walking down this path, do be careful of the lampposts sticking out on the left side of the path. There is a bench coming up on our right which you can use if you'd like a spot to rest. Do be aware that this doesn't have a back to it, so it may not be the most comfortable. Beware of a blind bend on our right here. We're going to take the sloped path on the right, being mindful that the curve is a blind bend. Then we're going to take a left here, over the bridge. Watch out for the big lip coming onto and off of the bridge here, as it may be a tripping hazard. If you look to your right, you'll get your first glimpse at the South Harbour, and if you look to your left, you'll get another great view of the main harbour. Once off the bridge, we're going to take the sloped path down, then make a big turn left. Make sure not to take the right turn here as it leads to a dead end. Look out for the blind bend on our right. It may be best to go wide to the left so you can see around the corner before meeting it. Now we're going to follow this nice wide path to its end. Do watch out for those lampposts on the left side of the path again. Be mindful that there is a blind bend coming up on the right. Where the path splits ahead of us, we're going to take the right-hand one that's sloped. We're going to take a left here, going down onto the road, where we'll be met by two splitting paths yet again. The right-hand path has a gentler incline, but being made of gravel isn't very stable and can be very difficult for wheelchair users due to their wheels digging in between the stones. The path we're going to take is on the left. While this path is steeper, it's made of solid ground, making it easier and safer to travel on. Do be aware that the path is still quite uneven and bumpy with rather sharp turns. Do be aware of overgrown grass on either side of and in between the floor here. Once at the top of the incline, do be aware of uneven floor, overgrown grass, a sewer cover, and a tight walkway. We're going to follow the path to the right here. From here, you can get a better view of the gravel walkway. As you can see, it is a lot shorter than the paved route we took, meaning it might be a better path to take up if you are comfortable and able to climb it. We're now going to keep moving forward towards the sign ahead of us. Do be aware of the lip coming onto this flooring. It's best to enter it on the right side where the lip's the smallest. Likewise, it's better to stay on the right when coming off of the flooring. Beware the floor changes back to gravel with patches of grass. The floor is uneven, unstable, and can be difficult to go through if you're using a wheelchair. Also be mindful that big puddles can form if it has been raining. Here are some lovely information boards about the Sovereign Harbour and its bird life. And there's also an absolutely fantastic view of the outer harbour. If you're lucky, you might see a seal or two. We're going to continue along the path, making sure to keep the water to our left. Beware of rough tarmac flooring ahead that creates a steep lip. If you go to the left side of the path, the lip's at its smallest. If you walk this path in the opposite direction, or come up from the slope to the left here, beware of the blind bend. Watch out once more for lampposts on the left side of the path. As mentioned a moment ago, here are two of the local seals you might see if you walk this route. Watch out for the blind bend coming up on our right. Walking along this path, you get another fantastic view of the outer harbour, which is always lovely when lots of boats are making their way in and out. Don't forget to watch out for the blind bend we've just passed on our right. Beware of the semi-blind bend on our right here. Do make sure to get a look at the Sovereign Harbour fountains here. This is the centre of the anchor-shaped water feature that's a whopping 310 metres long, making it one of the longest in Europe. Look out for the semi-blind bend on the right here. Watch out again for the semi-blind bend on the right, which is the path we're going to head down. Be mindful that the slope we just walked down is quite steep. Now we're going to follow the pavement to the right here. Then take a left and head to the hedges. Tucked away behind the hedges are a few benches you can rest on, as well as a couple more to our right towards the water feature, which is the direction we're going to be walking. Now we're going to go left here and walk along the water feature's left side. If you walk down the right side of the water feature, you can't make it the whole way down without coming back onto the path we saw earlier. Please do be aware that the fountains are quite noisy, so if you're sensitive to noise, it may be worth wearing ear defenders here. Do also bear in mind that the walls on the right side of the path are quite low, making them a tripping hazard. Why not take a moment to enjoy the stunning close-up view of the centre of the water feature? We're going to take a left at the end of the path, being careful as this is a semi-blind bend. We're going to take a right here, being mindful that it is a tight passage between the bollard and lamppost. Do also be mindful that the path is slightly slanted. If you would like, you can cross the road here to the opposite pavement, which is much more level. If this is not of concern, please continue along this path. Here we will cross the road. If you're a wheelchair user, there is a flat crossing point further along the path where you'll be able to cross. But if access across the path is blocked, like with this white van, you can cross the road to the left and use that path instead. Once we've crossed the road, we will continue forward towards Key West. If you cross the road to the left, this is where you can cross back over onto the right side of the road. Be careful of this large pothole in the pavement. If you take the path to our right, you'll make your way back to the lock gates. But we're going to take the path to the left, following it as it curves and admiring the wonderful view of the South Harbour. Watch out for the blind bend coming up on our right. We're now going to take a right here, being careful of the semi-blind bend. Be careful of the blind bend on our right here. From here, we're going to go towards the railing you see dead ahead. You can follow the path over or cut across as we did. If you cut across, do make sure to check for cars. Let's take a moment to take in this absolutely lovely view of the South and Main Harbours. On a sunny day, it's especially lovely. From here, we're going to turn around and walk along the pavement that curves around the bush. We must be careful coming around this corner as it is a blind bend. Be mindful that the pavement slopes here for a driveway. Watch out for the overgrown greenery on our right, as well as a semi-blind bend. Don't worry about the sloping path on the right, we're going to continue with the flat path on the left. There usually isn't a car parked up on the curb like this, but be mindful that there very well may be. And if so, stay clear of the left side of the path so you don't hit it. Keep following the path around the bend, being mindful that it is a semi-blind bend. We're going to again follow the path around the corner, being careful as it is a blind bend. Now that we've made it around the corner, we're going to head straight down this wide path and take a left at the end. This will bring us back to the main harbour where we were earlier in the walk. Before we continue, here's another great viewing point to look at the South Harbour. Now, let's take the slope to our left and start our journey back to Four Seasons. Keep going straight until you're about to reach the bridge. Now, take the sloped path to the left, being careful of its blind bend. Keep going forward, watching out for anyone who might be crossing the bridge on your right. Once we get to the curve, be mindful of the blind bend on the left. Once we've made it off the slope, we're going to follow the path forward, keeping the water on our right. Whilst walking along this path, be mindful of the lampposts on the right-hand side. And don't forget to enjoy the view of the boats docked to the right. If you're lucky, you might even see some in action. After that long straight, we're going to take a left here, going up the sloped path, remembering to be careful due to it being a blind bend. The bridge might be raised when you make it up the slope. If that's the case, as it was with us, you'll just have to wait a few minutes for the bridge to lower again. Now that the bridge is lowered and the others have crossed, we'll make our way over. Remember that coming onto and off of the bridge, there are slight lips that could be tripping hazards. There's a similar lip in the middle of the bridge as well. Once off of the bridge, we will take the path to the left that we showed you earlier. We'll follow it around to the right and then head down the path alongside the restaurants. Do bear in mind that the path may be tight or blocked depending on how busy the restaurants are. If this is the case, you can take the path we used to get to the bridge at the start of the video, but in reverse. Once you've passed the harvester, continue on the path under the canopy, which is quite narrow and can become cramped if busy. Once through the canopy, take the pathway slightly to the right. It's a large opening that will bring us back to Four Seasons. There is an elevator just to the left here which can be used to access the upper level of the waterfront shops. This is wheelchair and mobility scooter accessible. Take a left at the end of the walkway and you'll find yourself back at Four Seasons. Do be careful of poles, bins and chairs scattered about. And here we are. Thanks for watching. We hope this video was helpful. Now, get out there and enjoy the route.